The farthest journey in human history is about to begin. NASA's Artemis II mission could happen as early as February. Here's why this flight will be one to watch. The Artemis II crew may be able to see parts of the moon humans haven't experienced before. Up to 60% of their view of the far side of the moon may be unique. Photographed by Babak Tafreshi, Nat Geo Image Collection. By Swapna Krishna. September 25, 2025. We are 41,541 miles from the moon, says astronaut Reid Wiseman, commander of Artemis II, NASA's upcoming mission returning to the moon. There's a lot of pressure on Wiseman and his fellow astronauts. They are laying the groundwork for an effort will land astronauts on the lunar surface for the first time in over 50 years. But there's no tension in Wiseman's voice right now. He's relaxed and comfortable, wearing a blue long-sleeve shirt with Artemis emblazoned on the front. In front of him is a series of glass displays, surrounded by the switches and lights that show him the status of the Orion spacecraft, which will take Wiseman and 3 others on a trip around the moon. There are 5 windows on the command module of the Orion capsule. Apollo had the same number. Looking through them, Wiseman doesn't see the vast emptiness of space, or glimpses of the Earth or Moon. Instead, he sees a simulated view of a field of stars. Wiseman is in one of many mock-ups of the Orion capsule, practicing one part of the mission, trying to understand what he will face when Artemis II launches next year. For astronauts, Commander Wiseman, pilot Victor Glover, and mission specialists Christina Koch and Jeremy Hansen of the Canadian Space Agency, have practiced every aspect of this mission since they were announced as its crew in May of 2023. They officially started training a month later. Since then, they've learned to operate the spacesuits that could keep them alive for up to 144 hours if there's a loss of atmosphere in the capsule. They performed countless simulations to understand everything that could go wrong, from engine failures to a broken toilet. Once, during a 30-hour simulation, Glover chose to sleep in the Orion capsule simulator instead of heading to the crew quarters with the other 3 astronauts. This vehicle, the life support system, has this kind of heartbeat sound, Glover told National Geographic. He wanted to experience what it was like to sleep in that environment. In 2022, the Artemis I mission put NASA's Space Launch System, SLS, and Orion crew capsule to the test. Here, it is at the Vehicle Assembly Building at Kennedy Space Center in Florida. Photographed by Dan Winters, Nat Geo Image Collection. In 2022, Artemis I tested out the ground systems, rocket, and spacecraft without a crew. Now, Artemis II is set to send humans around the moon. And now, it's almost here. The official launch date is April 2026, no specific day has been chosen yet, though NASA is quietly working towards as early as February 5. The mission will lift off on the Space Launch System, SLS, a NASA megarocket specifically designed for the Artemis program that will take astronauts into Earth orbit. After the rocket separates, Orion's main engine will put the spacecraft into a long slingshot around the moon. Scheduled for almost 10 days, Artemis II won't land on the moon. That feat is reserved for Artemis III, currently scheduled for mid-2027. Every single day feels more and more real, more and more chances to do the actual mission with the actual folks we're going to be with, said Koch in a press conference in early August. As the launch date creeps closer, Glover tells National Geographic he's laser-focused on the mission. For me, feelings can be a distraction, Glover says when asked about how excited he is. Ask me that question again when we get through the mission and I'll give you all the touchy-feely answers. But why is Artemis II so important, despite it not featuring a lunar landing? Simply put, it will kick off an entirely new era of human exploration of the cosmos. The goal of the Apollo program was to land humans on the lunar surface. It wasn't designed to keep us there. Unlike Apollo, this time when we go to the moon we want to stay, says Lori Glaze, acting Associate Administrator for the Exploration Systems Development Mission Directorate at NASA. We want to be able to have a sustained presence on the moon. We want to be able to go back over and over again for years, really learn how to live and work in this environment that's a little bit further away from Earth. Artemis II is the next step. Artemis I and II are test flights for a new chapter of human exploration. Artemis, the sister of Apollo in Greek mythology, has been decades in the making. Its seeds were sown in 2004 with what was then called the Constellation Program. That's when development of Orion and SLS began in an effort to return to the Moon. Constellation was eventually cancelled in 2011. But the work on SLS and Orion wasn't scrapped completely. When Artemis was announced in 2017 as part of NASA's Moon to Mars program, they were repurposed. The first mission of the program, Artemis I, lifted off on November 16, 2022. The uncrewed flight to test the equipment was, overall, a success. From the first thundering moments of liftoff to the separation of its second stage from the Orion capsule in Earth orbit, SLS met or exceeded all NASA expectations. Orion was a different story. An unexpected problem arose with the capsule's heat shield. The Orion capsule from the Artemis I mission makes its way towards the USS Portland after being successfully secured by NASA. Orion is a cone-shaped capsule that turns its blunt end to the Earth's atmosphere during re-entry. There lies the heat shield, made up of a material called avcoat. It's designed to ablate away from the spacecraft. It literally takes the heat of re-entry with it as it melts off, protecting the ship and the crew inside from extreme temperatures. At least, that's how an ablative heat shield is supposed to work. But after Artemis I, engineers noticed that instead of experiencing a gentle ablation, the heat shield was charred and had come off in chunks. There were even some holes in it. This discovery directly led to the delay of Artemis II's launch, which was previously scheduled for no earlier than September 2025. Anytime you talk about fire, anytime you talk about entry and heat shields, you talk about parachutes. These are high-risk things that don't have fault tolerance built in, Glover said at a press conference in August. They have to work. To be sure, if the astronauts had been aboard Orion on Artemis I, they would have been absolutely fine. They wouldn't have even noticed an increase in cabin temperatures. But because of NASA's history with the Challenger and Columbia disasters, the agency's safety culture demanded that researchers understand the root cause. NASA finally did solve the problem after several months of hands-on testing of the avcoat material, studying it in hypersonic wind tunnels and heating facilities. Put succinctly, the heat shield's ablative material was too impermeable, which led to internal pressure buildup during Artemis I's unique re-entry path. Skip entry is a process that involves entering the atmosphere, lifting back out of it, and then re-entering, like a stone skipping across the surface of a pond. Artemis I was the first mission that attempted this maneuver. Its main benefit is the ability to bleed off the tremendous speed involved from returning to Earth from the Moon. It also allows Orion to travel further once entering the Earth's atmosphere, which makes it easier to hit a pinpoint splashdown target. Between atmospheric skips, gases built up within the avcoat material, which is what led to the heat shield cracking.